What's up, everyone? Chris here, and I was blessed to be able to pick up the Canon EOS 5 R5 today, and I figure it'd be the best time to do a comparison with what I think is the two best 1080p or 4K cameras on the market right now as far as the sharpness of the image. I think the Fuji and the GH5s are, and then obviously the Pocket 4K, but they're just on another level when it comes to 4K footage. And then that just kind of goes down to the 1080 is just so crispy. Anyway, so this is a comparison of the Fuji XT4, which I love so much, against the new R5 that I just picked up. Now, the reason why I'm doing this comparison is that we do a lot of videos, kind of tutorials on our main channel, and the XT4 I like to shoot at 4K 60. To me, you just get more detail out of that image, and I don't know, that's what I like to shoot at. And it overheated at my shop today at around 4 minutes in. Now I can quickly switch to 4K 30 after it started to give me the warning. I'm sorry, it didn't overheat, it gave me the warning sign. But I really need that footage. It's time sensitive. The repair only happens once, so I didn't want to risk it. So I quickly went back down to 4K 30 and then was able to proceed with the repair. And the reason, I guess another reason why I would use 4K 60 is I do a lot of panning shots, and it's always nice to slow down those panning shots and be able to add a little bit more footage to the overall video. Maybe it's more of an editing thing, and then obviously the crispiness, crispiness. There you go, of the 4K 60, in my opinion. So right now, all the audio is done through the Fujifilm. We're on 4K 30 for the Fujifilm. We're doing one of their what is it? The 16 to 55 lens, the XF lens. So top of the line lens. It's at 3.2 just to give it some more sharpness. And then the Canon, the only lens I have on R5 is an RF is a 35 millimeter right now, so maybe not the best comparison for the R5, but that R5 camera does a lot more than the Fuji does. Now the Fuji does hold its own with photography and all that good stuff, but we'll go in more detail. I haven't had any issues with overheating. This is not an overheating test. We're just gonna go over like image quality. Canon is gonna be shot in C-Log, different settings. Fuji will remain those settings, which is 4K, 30 frames a second, 10-bit, and the F-Log. So Fuji will have those settings throughout this entire test. I did an autofocus test. The only screen that I'm seeing right now is the Fuji, and it's just locking on to me right now. I don't know what the Canon is doing. That's kind of one of the things about the Canon is I rely on their autofocus a lot more. I'm pretty much confident that their autofocus is dead on right now. So hopefully that's the case. So going over the settings that we're gonna do in the Canon, it's gonna be the 8K IPB setting, which is the lowest grade 8K at 30 frames a second. This is the setting that can be done on the SD card, can be recorded on the SD card. I don't have a CFast, well, I do have a CFast card, but for some reason I'm getting an error, so I can't test out any of the high quality 4K stuff, which is pretty much the only reason why you would need the CF Express card. So this is something that you can record on an SD card, so that's why I'm kind of running this test. Now I'm thinking I would use this basically for those fine detail shots. If I can quickly you maybe capture really about a minute tops of those shots, I will quickly position the camera into 8K and might be able to pull that detail, those zoom shots. Now, if I can get 5 minutes, perfect, because I only really use about 5, maybe 8 minutes of that footage, kind of speed it up and then do those punch-ins so people can see those fine details. So that's another reason why I am testing out that 8K, which I never even thought I would even need 8K or even use 8K, but I started to think and I'm like, man, I tend to punch in 2 or 3 times on a 4K footage, and it might be better on 8K. Anyway, so now we know YouTube compression is just gonna just crush this. But a lot of our tutorials are going to be on like a Vimeo platform, so it's a little bit more higher resolution. So I'm kind of watching that. YouTube, I think you might not be able to tell the difference, but we'll see. This is why we're running this test. The next setting will be in 4K IPB, 30 frames a second, and this is just the one that just doesn't overheat at all. And then the following setting is going to be the 4K crop mode. I think we're going to run it in IPB, and it's just going to be a crop. Now that doesn't have any pixel bending, so it should give us a better 4K footage. It's actually downsamples instead of 8K. It downsamples it to like instead of downsampling it from 8K down to 4K, which does some pixel bending, they say. I'm not too technical with these cameras. But the crop side of it will be actually like a 5.2K, and it won't be pixel bending down to like a 4K image. So it should give us a higher quality. You just got to use that crop. Now, I have an EOS R, and we're going to run the 4K with the Sigma 18 to 35 on there, which is a very, very sharp lens. So we should be able to figure out which one. I got a high-end lens on the Fuji, and then when we do the crop one, we're gonna have a crop sensor Sigma 18 to 35 on that 1.8. Now everything, again, the Fuji is at 3.2, but you know, it goes down to 2.8. I just want to give it a little bit of room for the sharpness, and then the same thing with this RF35. I kind of bumped it up to like a 2.5 on the aperture, so just to see if it can, you know, nail that sharpness, give it a little more room. As far as that's it. Let's go on to the test. So right now you are looking at the 8K footage out of the Canon EOS R5 and this is the IPB. I think this is the only setting out of other than the 24, the frame rate 24 to 30, this is the only setting that will work with the SD card. So it's the only 8K setting that will work with an SD card. So that's what we're running right now. You can compare it against the Fuji. There was a little error. I actually recorded to the CFast card, but anyway. So this is the test right now against the R5 8K footage IPB, which is the only 8K that you could run on the SD card, that can actually save on the SD card. So this is all I have, because my CFast Express card didn't really play well with the R5. So I think it's supposed to be very finicky. So what you're looking at, 8K, it's the RF35 lens, so it's the full sensor readout, I guess. 8K footage here, and we're going to use this footage to possibly get in those detail shots that I always use. I always actually zoom in and use that footage. So maybe this 8K feature for a couple of minutes may be fairly useful. Now, you might not be able to see it in YouTube, but when we transfer into our tutorials, I think that platform would be Vimeo, which is a little bit higher resolution. And so this may matter for the viewers that are jumping on our tutorials. So 8K R5. I don't know, looks good. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see in post. What we're comparing right now is you're seeing obviously the Fuji on one side, and then the 4K IPB 30 frames a second, same RF 35mm lens on the Canon R5. This is, I believe, the setting that runs endless, no heating issues or overheating issues you will have with this setting with the Canon. So ideally, this would be the one I would run with. So I want to check the sharpness. I already know that the Fuji will run non-stop in 4K 30. And then we'll kind of struggle a lot in 4K 60. I mean, only giving me minutes, but I can quickly turn that to 4K 30 and it will just keep running without any overheating signs. So again, 4K IPB, kind of the lowest setting 4K, which has no overheating limiter on it. So that's what you have right here. Let's switch to the crop sensor one that I believe has no overheating limit also, but it doesn't do the pixel bending that you're seeing here. It uses obviously a smaller portion of the sensor, so it gives it like a 5.2K resolution, and then it downsamples from that. Instead of doing that, whatever Canon calls it, I just call it pixel bending. So let's switch on to that lens. All right, so this is the 4K crop sensor, again, without the pixel bending. I hope Canon actually, I hope Canon actually, you know, you can't tell the difference zoomed in because, you know, I would like to use the full frame 8K down res into 4K, but people are saying that it's fairly soft. It pretty much looks like a EOS R with the in 4K, which is pretty disheartening. The EOS R is not as sharp as the Fuji by any means, and then the GH5 just blows it out of the water when it comes to sharpness. Now, I don't sharpen anything in post. I actually don't know how, so maybe that may work. Again, hopefully some of this stuff has been informative. How I use the camera, I explained it to you, and it's more of a run and gun. Roughly about 30 minutes of footage throughout the entire repairs. There'll probably be a little bit more recording, 45 to maybe 50 minutes of recording, but limited slow motion, don't really need it. I just need very, very sharp image with a decent amount of dynamic range. I was happy with the Fuji and the F-Log, so it seems like Canon has a little bit more dynamic range than the Fuji. So that's kind of what we that's kind of what we're comparing it to. So again, this, what you're looking at, is the Canon R5 with.
I'm going to hang up.
Okay, see ya. Thank you. Good night.
It's not my time.
Okay. Well, you have a good day. You have a good day.
Good night for you.
All right. All right, bye. All right, I forgot where we were. All right, so yeah. So this whole time, Fuji has been running nonstop. I think I got about maybe 30 minutes to record this video. So the Fuji's just been running, capturing all of the audio. So hopefully this video has been somewhat informative on the R5. I'm just going to use the camera for mostly its non-heating or non-overheating modes, you know, no limit. I'm okay with that. I think YouTube just destroys the image anyway. So, but that's just my opinion. And I am not a photographer, videographer, cinematographer, whatever. That's not my profession. So I do enjoy crispy images, I guess, or video. And the GH5 has really caught my eye. I need autofocus, and the Fuji kind of lacks in that area a little bit on the run and gun, but not too bad. So I'm so used to the Canon. I'm invested in the Canon, and because I have already like 3 Canons, hopefully the colors will match. Again, the Canon is shot in C-Log, the Fuji is in F-Log, and my mediocre color grading is what you're probably seeing right now. So please be easy on me if you're watching this and you come from that background and know a little bit more than me. So links below will be for my main channel, and you can see kind of how we utilize these cameras. Again, hopefully this video has been very or somewhat informative to anybody that's looking to pick up the Canon R5 or even the Fuji XT4. No one talks about the overheating on the XT4. I mean, I think Tony and Chelsea said something, but I mean, my shop is like 90 degrees throughout the day. I mean, we just have fans running right now. And I guess when I first picked it up, it wasn't really much of an issue, but now it's just, I don't know, it's just a couple minutes with 4K 60 is really, anyway, I'm rambling. So you guys have a good night and stay safe out there. Peace.